The Game Awards always promises the most hype reveals. And this year we expected no different. This is the story of Highguard, a game that hit the spotlight at the Game Awards 2025, crashed hard at launch, and might just be fighting its way back into the conversation. But what made it crash to start with? Well, when you take the last spot of the Game Awards, people expect something spectacular. They heard the veterans who worked on Titanfall and Apex Legends, and they expected Titanfall 3, Apex Legends 2. I don't know, something revolutionary the fans have been asking for. One of the most hyped shooter launches of recent years. And instead, they got what people called just another MOBA, just another hero shooter, something that's destined to be mid. At the same time, Jeff Keighley, he doubles down. And you would expect him, the host of the Game Awards, to maybe know something about games. The game launched to 97,000 people. And by the end of the day, 90% of those people stopped playing the game and left negative reviews. But how did it all happen? And like I said, it began right at the end of the Game Awards 2025, one of the biggest stages in gaming, where Highguard was unveiled for the first time ever with high energetic flair. For many in the community, it was that moment, the trailer that promised a fresh hybrid PvP experience, a hero shooter with objective-based raids, horseback combat, magic and guns, and intense strategic depth. But it didn't look like it from the trailer. Come to find out, they were rushed in making that trailer, and they didn't even pay for the last spot. Jeff Keighley essentially just gave it to him because he liked their game so much. And that's where the controversy starts. Players took to social media immediately with skepticism, memes, and backlash that turned the hype into controversy. It didn't make it very far. It didn't even make it a couple hours. People were already writing it off. Then, on January 26, 2026, Highguard officially landed as a free-to-play title on Steam, Xbox Series XS, and PlayStation 5, the major consoles, but not Switch 2. On paper, the launch was impressive. On Steam alone, it hit over 97,000 concurrent players, which was a massive number for a brand new PvP shooter. But the tragic part was that the peak dropped off extremely fast. In just 24 hours, the Steam player count fell off by over 80%, plunging below 20,000 concurrent players. Within a few more days, reports showed it dropped even further, and in some snapshots, down to just a few thousand active players on Steam. They effectively lost 95% of their player base in 7 days. So why did so many players try it and also abandon it almost immediately? But I mean, you had to play it. With all the hype, or lack of, around the game, you had to see if it was just as bad as everyone hoped it would be. And yes, I'm going to say everyone hoped that it would be bad. Although it was made by the Apex Legends team and the Titanfall team, no one wanted to see this game from them. They wanted Titanfall 3, that's for sure. And as it looked like another mid shooter, people, I think, were kind of hoping and expecting another mid shooter. So, the Steam reviews came in, and there were a mix of complaints. Was it a mid shooter? Most of the people said yes. But the main complaints were technical issues, performance problems, and just the overall design choices that just didn't land right. Some of the most common talking points were that maps were too big for 3v3 fights. That led to long stretches with no action. Even though you got a mount that lets you travel across these large maps fairly quickly, it was just too open for players. The technical performance complaints were even felt on powerful hardware. This was a problem because they weren't minimum specs computers, and it seems pretty commonplace for games that come out nowadays with so many technical problems that it just doesn't make sense to me. But that's probably more likely based on all the consoles they have to release on at once. And with new engines creating more problems and stronger hardware creating unique challenges to maximize but also allow other hardware to play on. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I'm no tech, no gizmo, but come on, that's got to be hard. I did hear also from the grapevine that there was some matchmaking queue frustration, but that's not something I personally experienced. Ultimately, it felt like there was just a lack of content at launch. That coupled with the core gameplay loop not hooking enough players in their first session. Some players pointed out that the Steam page itself removed direct references to Titanfall and Apex Legends shortly after launch, a sign that the devs might have overemphasized pedigree in marketing. Across social platforms, many players openly question if this could have been avoided with a different reveal strategy, perhaps even not at the Game Awards at all. Something that the studio's CEO admitted they're still thinking about. And they really only put it there because Jeff Keighley gave them the spot. They were planning to shadow drop this game if you take their word for it. The reviews came flooding in the first day, and they were substantial to say the least. They were almost all negative, with 18% of reviews being positive, which is absolutely absurd. But here's where the narrative gets interesting. When filtering Steam reviews by playtime, specifically players who've spent at least 3 hours in the game, the sentiment shifts dramatically in that group. The game leans mostly positive. And what does that mean? It suggests that while many players tried and quit, those who dug deeper found something more enjoyable and worthwhile under the surface, a nuance that often gets lost in initial blitz reactions. Essentially, first impressions were rough, but the core experience may resonate with players who commit time to it. And I don't know about you, but to me, less than 3 hours is not good enough for me to give a Steam review. I saw Steam reviews with 30 minutes or an hour, 50 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, 30 minutes. Like, how do you give a game a proper chance? You don't even know half the mechanics yet, it feels like. I don't know. That's just me. I would never give a review after that amount of time. I think the first review I would give is a minimum of 5, but personally, if I'm going to post anything that's not just to my friend group, probably 10. At the same time, I recognize not everyone got time for that. And this is one of those games where it was make or break. You either get people in the beginning or you lose. And many players found the opening of the game to be so boring. Sitting around mining and reinforcing, like you could just play Siege if you want to reinforce, but mining and not doing anything for like 3 minutes of the game time, to writing out, to not seeing anyone until you're at the objective, like there's a lot of downtime that can be boring, and I definitely get it. However, the devs made an important response to this. Rather than standing still, the developers listened and acted. Within days, Wildlight added a 5v5 raid mode, something the community had been calling for almost immediately. And the next thing the devs did was actually admirable. Rather than standing still, the developers listened and acted. Within days, Wildlight added a 5v5 raid mode, something the community had been calling for like immediately since day one. You would think this game would have more than a 3v3 format on launch. It did not, man. 3v3 was it. 3v3 casual or social, whatever you want to call it. There was no ranked at all. And the mode wasn't just experimental, it became permanent due to player engagement. People loved 5v5 raid mode so much, they said, hey, we're going to leave it in the game. They also rolled out performance improvements. They added longer respawn times in the 5v5 to adjust the balance, and quality of life tweaks aimed at making matches feel more dynamic. Best of all, the team has publicly committed to rapid update cadence, even hinting it could be faster than the Apex Legends update pace, and expanding roadmap of new maps, weapons, and characters for 2026. This is something I love to see because I felt even in Apex Legends, with how many years it's been out, I don't feel like there's that many characters that catch my eye. And I'm hoping they could add some characters in this game that catch my eye, because there's nothing crazy about the characters. There's no like crazy powers we haven't seen before. It's all fairly standard. They look well enough. I mean, with the graphics these days, you expect everything to look well enough though. So I understand why most people called the game mid. But with all the balancing and the updates going on, I think this game has potential. And if the devs keep it up and they add more characters and they add those maps and they keep adding these game modes, I think it could really catch a lot of players and bring them back into the game. The 5v5 mode, I think, in aspect, is just, it's tried and true, man. 3v3s always seem to fade, man. It doesn't matter what the game is, 3v3s seem to fade. But 5v5s always stay. What do I mean by this? Any hero shooter or MOBA, just look at it. 5v5. CSGO is a MOBA, League of Legends, Dota 2, Valorant, all 5v5. Any game mode they add in 3v3 doesn't hit the top. Smite, 5v5. Joust, 3v3, not as popular. The only time I really see 3v3s really working is in Battle Royale. And they have Apex Legends going for them. People love 3v3 in that Battle Royale format. So maybe they brought it over. I think that was a mistake. I think 5v5 should have been the mainstay to begin with. If you want to get a little wacky with the map size, 6v6, maybe 4v4. 6v6 might be too much. 4v4 might have been the sweet spot. I don't know. I'm enjoying 5v5 more than 3v3, so you tell me. All in all, is Highguard actually going to rebound? The early data and sentiment are promising. Review trends among engaged players are improving. New modes like 5v5 are here to stay. The dev team seems to be transparent from here forth and are responsive, which, we love indie devs for that. And let's take a moment to consider. A AAA dev would never. They would feed the fire until the game crashed and burned, just like Concord. Indie devs, they always spend time with community feedback these days. It feels like, if they're an indie dev, remembering. And so, here's to hoping they are. While the overall player base isn't massive compared to giants like Apex Legends, Fortnite, or Overwatch, Highguard doesn't necessarily need to be the next blockbuster. It just needs a dedicated community. And in the crowded live service market, where 2025 games often lost over 90% of players quickly, retaining even a few thousand active players with improving engagement and meaningful updates is a significant turnaround for any game in this day and age. And they're holding about 11,000 concurrent players every day, which is still a successful live service game. If you can get over 10,000 a day, you've made enough money to keep the game afloat and make a little profit along the way. So Highguard's story isn't done here. They've stumbled and even probably had a harsh fall, but they are slowly rebuilding their reputation. It's a case study in how modern live service games can survive beyond first impressions. If Wildlight continues to patch smartly, add fresh content, and nurture its community, Highguard could evolve from that game that bombed into the sleeper hit no one expected, but we'll have to stay tuned. More importantly, what do you think? Is Highguard worth the comeback spotlight, or was the hype just a mirage? Was there even any hype to begin with, or was it just Jeff Keighley screaming at the screen? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.